When you observe the world, you see people, you see houses, you see the sky, you see tangible objects. But when you observe yourself within, you see moving images, generally known as fantasies. Yet these fantasies are facts. It is a fact that a man has such and such a fantasy. And it is such a tangible fact, for instance, that when a man has a certain fantasy, another man may lose his life. Or a bridge is built. Everything you do here, all of others, everything was fantasy to begin with. And fantasy has a proper reality. That is not to be forgotten. Fantasy is not nothing. It is, of course, not a tangible object, but it is a fact, nevertheless. It is, say, a form of energy, despite the fact we can't measure it. It is a manifestation of something. And that is a reality. That is just a reality as, for instance, the peace treaty of Versailles or something like that. And when you observe the stream of images within, you observe an aspect of the world within. And so, you see, the man who is going by the external world, by the influences of the external world, say society or perceptions, sense perceptions, thinks that he is more valid, because this is valid, this is real. And the man who goes by the subjective factor is not valid because subjective factor is nothing. Yeah. No, that man is just as well based, because he is bases himself upon the world from within.
I mean, here it is, the natural instinct, and here is control. You are to combine the two in harmony. Not if you have one to the extreme, you will be very unscientific. If you have another to the extreme, you become all of a sudden a mechanical man, no longer a human being. So it is a successful combination of both. So therefore, it is not only, therefore it's not pure naturalness or unnaturalness. The ideal is unnatural naturalness or natural unnaturalness. Have style. You just say, well, here I am, as a human being. How can I express myself? Totally and completely. But all the time you are keeping the continuity going. Bending, stretching, everything. Suppose, you just keep it moving. Running water never grows stale. So you gotta just keep on flowing. But to express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, and to express myself honestly, that, my friend, is very hard to do. And you have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there. When you want to move, you're moving. And when you move, you're determined to move. Not taking 1 inch, not anything less than that. Be formless, shapeless, like water. When you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. The water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Just as the waves are continuous with the ocean, your body is continuous with the total energy system of the cosmos. And it's all you. Only you're playing the game that you're only this bit of it. But as I tried to explain, there are in physical reality no such things as separate events. Doesn't it really astonish you that you are this fantastically complex thing? and that you're doing all of this and you never had any education in how to do it? The point is that from a strictly physical, scientific standpoint, this organism is a continuous energy with everything else that's going on. Only we've got this little partial view, we've got the idea that no, I'm just something in this body, the ego. The ego is nothing other than the focus of conscious attention. It's like a radar on a ship. The radar on a ship is a troubleshooter. Is there anything in the way? And conscious attention is a designed function of the brain to scan the environment, like a radar does, and note for any trouble-making changes. And if you identify yourself with your troubleshooter, then naturally you define yourself as being in a perpetual state of anxiety. And the moment we cease to identify with the ego and become aware that we are the whole organism, you realize that as the first thing how harmonious it all is. Because your organism is a miracle of harmony. All this thing functioning together.
This is the army of forgotten souls.
What you are basically, deep, deep down, far, far in, is simply the fabric and structure of existence itself.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. So just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Blessed is he who reads aloud the words of the prophecy, and blessed are those who hear, and who keep what is written therein, for the time is near. He is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, everyone who pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth will wail on account of him. Those of you who have not learned what some call the deep things of Satan. I know your works, I know your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot hear evil men, but have tested those who call themselves apostles, but are not, and found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had. I know your tribulation and your poverty, and the slander of those who say,
Oh, Almighty God, guilty before His Son, guilty before the whole human race. It's the Lord who expels you.
The word, the etymological meaning of religion, they have not made it very clear. Look up various dictionaries, they haven't been able to trace the beginning of that word. They have given various meanings at different times. But generally it means to gather.
Yeah, this one sound Christian.
So what is meditation? Not how to meditate. When you ask how, there's somebody to tell you what to do. Right? If you don't ask how, and say, what is meditation? Then you have to exert your own capacity, your own experience, however limited. You have to think, right? And say, but tell me what meditation, I'll go off into some kind of silly dream. The word meditation means to ponder over.
But what Darwin pointed out is that there's a perfectly reasonable process, which is inevitable, which will create enormous, exquisite order out of chaos. If we thought the universe was only 6,000 years old, there is not enough time, and evolution is nonsense. But if, as in fact is now definitively true, the solar system and the Earth are 4.5 billion years old, then there's plenty of time for evolution, and our sense that order means creator is wrong. Finally, you can say, look, you can go back as far as you want, but somehow the stuff of the universe had to come from somewhere, and isn't that what God did? But that's only true if the universe was created. If the universe was always here, if the universe was infinitely old, then there's nothing for a creator to do.
I would say those of us worried about being demoted, those of us who wish for us to be important, should do something important. We should make an easily understandable, achievable, and inspiring goal for the human species, and then set out and do it. That would give us the confidence that we sorely lack by being dependent on our self-esteem being based on nothing we do. We want to have self-esteem? Let's make a planet in which nobody is starving. Let's make a planet in which men and women have equal access to power. Let us make a planet in which no ethnic group has it over another ethnic group. Let's have a planet in which science and engineering is used for the benefit of everybody on the planet. And my personal idiosyncrasy, let's have a world in which we go to other worlds. I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
This is the legend of Muhammad Ali, the quickest fighter there ever will be. He talks a great deal, he brags indeed of a powerful punch and blinding speed. This brash young boxer is something to see, and the heavyweight championship is his destiny. Ali's got a left, Ali's got a right. If he hits you once, you'll sleep for the night. And as you lie on the floor while the ref counts 10, you better hope and pray you don't meet me again.
What happened when you meet Smoking Joe? And I said, Joe's gonna come out smoking, and I ain't gonna be joking. I'll be pecking and a poking, pouring water on his smoking. Then this might shock and amaze you, but I will destroy Joe Frazier.
I just wrote a poem the other day entitled Truth. It says, the face of truth is open, the eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed, the head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward, the gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt, truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching, the voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple, all you sow you reap. The soul of truth is flaming, the heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. The image of truth is the cross, wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal, immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure, truth shall hold to the last.
There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I do not see it. It is this unseen power which makes itself felt and yet defies all truth, because it is so unlike all that I perceive through my senses. It transcends the senses, but it is possible to reason out the existence of God to a limited extent. Even in ordinary affairs, we know that people do not know who rules or why and how he rules. And yet they know that there is a power that certainly rules. In my tour last year in Mysore, I met many poor villagers, and I found upon inquiry that they did not know who ruled Mysore. They simply said, some god ruled it. If the knowledge of these poor people was so limited about their ruler, I, who am infinitely lesser in respect to God than they to their ruler, need not be surprised if I do not realize the presence of God the King of Kings. Nevertheless, I do feel, as the poor villagers felt about my sword, that there is orderliness in the universe. There is an unalterable law governing everything and every being that exists or lives. It is not a blind law, for no blind law can govern the conduct of living beings. And thanks to the marvelous researches of Sir J.C. Bose, it can now be proved that even matter is life. That law, then, which governs all life is God. Law and the lawgiver are one. I may not deny the law or the lawgiver because I know so little about it or him. Just as my denial or ignorance of the existence of an earthly power will avail me nothing, even so my denial of God and His law will not liberate me from its operation, whereas humble and mute acceptance of divine authority makes life journey easier, even as the acceptance of earthly rule makes life under it easier.
Almost everybody I know who's an expert on AI believes that they will exceed human intelligence. It's just a question of when. In between 5 and 20 years from now, there's a probability of about a half that will have to confront the problem of them trying to take over. So some people think these things don't really understand. They're very different from us. They're just using some statistical tricks. That's not the case. These big language models, for example, the early ones were developed as a theory of how the brain understands language. They're the best theory we've currently got of how the brain understands language. We don't understand either how they work or how the brain works in detail, but we think probably they work in fairly similar ways. So playing with the large chatbots, particularly one at Google before GPT-4, but also with GPT-4, they're clearly very competent, they clearly understand a lot. They have a lot more knowledge than any person. They're like a not very good expert at more or less everything. So that was one worry. And the second was coming to understand the way in which they're a superior form of intelligence, because you can make many copies of the same neural network. Each copy can look at a different bit of data, and then they can all share what they learned. So imagine if we had 10,000 people. They could all go off and do a degree in something. They could share what they learned efficiently, and then we'd have 10,000 degrees. We'd know a lot then. We can't share knowledge nearly as efficiently as different copies of the same neural network can. Almost everybody I know who's an expert on AI believes that they will exceed human intelligence. It's just a question of when. I think it's wise to be cautious. I think there's a chance they'll take control, and it's a significant chance. It's not like 1%, it's much more. What I'm most concerned about is when these things can autonomously make the decision to kill people. So, robot soldiers. Yeah. So we should distinguish these different risks. The risk of using AI for autonomous lethal weapons doesn't depend on AI being smarter than us. That's a quite separate risk from the risk that the AI itself will go rogue and try and take over. I'm worried about both things. The autonomous weapons is clearly going to come. Yeah. Whether AI goes rogue and tries to take over is something we may be able to control or we may not, we don't know. And so at this point, before it's more intelligent than us, we should be putting huge resources into seeing whether we are going to be able to control it.